Success isn't free. Let me tell you something most people are too soft to admit. If you want comfort, luxury, power, freedom, and dominance, you're going to bleed for it. Success isn't a gift. It's a transaction paying for power. It's the cost most people aren't willing to pay. People love the idea of success, the cars, the respect, the freedom, the lifestyle. They dream about it. They post quotes about it. They even talk like they're chasing it. But when it comes time to pay the price, most back down. They fold under pressure. They choose comfort over change. But here's the truth: nothing worthwhile is handed out for free. In life, you don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to suffer for. Success is like walking into a store where there are no price tags. You see something beautiful on the shelf. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's a strong body. Maybe it's becoming the best version of yourself. And when you ask how much it costs, the universe doesn't say a number. It just says everything: your time, your comfort, your distractions, your excuses, your old identity. And if you're not ready to hand over that payment, you walk out empty-handed, just like everyone else. Look at the gym. People go for 2 weeks, they don't see abs, and they quit. Why? Because they thought results were a gift for showing up. They didn't realize every drop of sweat, every sore muscle, every early morning is a down payment. And if they keep paying consistently without whining, they'll see results. But most want the outcome, not the pain. They want the reward, not the receipt. Same thing with business. Everybody wants passive income until they realize it requires active sacrifice. You want to make money in your sleep, then be ready to lose sleep for years. Be ready to stay up late learning things you don't understand, dealing with failure, losing money, and doing the unglamorous, repetitive stuff that no one claps for. The transaction is never flashy. It's slow, painful, frustrating. But if you keep paying, the freedom you get back is priceless. Even relationships are a transaction. You want deep love. Then give up ego, give up pride, give up the fantasy of perfection. Be ready to confront yourself, be ready to grow. Real connection costs you your superficial habits. You can't be selfish and still expect something genuine to bloom. And what about confidence? People think confidence is a personality trait. No, it's a byproduct of earned respect. The kind you give to yourself when you've overcome something, when you do hard things, when you follow through on your word, when you face rejection and don't fold. You earn self-trust, and that self-trust, it's the real source of confidence. Not affirmations, not fake positivity, but showing up every single day when nobody's watching. Look around. Success doesn't favor the most talented. It favors the most relentless. It doesn't reward the most gifted. It rewards the most disciplined. The ones who show up, shut up, and put in the work. No whining, no waiting. Just work. Consistent, painful, unsexy work. You want to learn a new skill. Understand this: you're going to be terrible at first. You're going to feel stupid. You're going to compare yourself to people who are better than you, and that's where most quit. Because they don't want to feel inadequate. But that feeling is part of the transaction. Embarrassment, struggle, confusion, that's the price. And only the people who are willing to be bad before they're good ever end up being great. Remember that one friend who started something with fire, but gave up after the hype died down. Maybe it was a side hustle, maybe fitness, maybe of course they got excited, they posted about it, they even bought equipment, but when results didn't show up instantly, they disappeared. Because they thought enthusiasm was enough. They thought dreams came with express delivery. But the truth is, success moves at the speed of your pain tolerance. You want more results? Increase what you're willing to endure. You can't cheat the grind. You can't skip the struggle. Success doesn't accept coupons. You pay full price with your discipline, your energy, your focus, your sacrifices. You give up comfort now to live in power later. So when you see someone successful, don't envy them. Don't assume they got lucky. Understand, you're looking at someone who paid a heavy price. You're looking at someone who stayed up nights you slept through, who practiced while you played, who worked while you waited. You're looking at a receipt written in years of pain. The deal is simple. You want success. Pain is the currency. Pressure is the cost. Sacrifice is the method. You don't wait for it. You pay for it. Every day, every hour, every choice. You can either sit in comfort and rent mediocrity or suffer a little known success. It's never free. It never was, and it never will be. Heaven demands death. Success demands killing your weakness. This line is not poetic. It's truth in its rawest form, because just like heaven requires you to leave this world behind, success demands you leave behind the weak version of yourself. You don't get to walk into your next level carrying your excuses, your fear, your laziness, and your self-doubt. Those parts of you have to die. And most people never reach their potential not because they weren't capable, but because they weren't willing to bury the version of themselves that was holding them back. Look around. Everyone wants to win. Everyone says they want success, but very few are ready to kill what's in the way. Your weakness is not just one thing. It's everything that whispers to you when no one's watching. It's the voice that tells you to skip the workout. It's the temptation to hit snooze. It's the habit of scrolling for hours instead of building something that could change your life. And every time you listen to it, you feed it, you make it stronger, and you delay your own breakthrough. Think about a snake shedding its skin. It looks painful, it looks uncomfortable, but it's necessary for survival. The snake doesn't cry about how tight its old skin has become. It doesn't complain that it's hard. It just knows if it doesn't shed, it doesn't grow, and you're the same. The only difference is You've been trained to get comfortable in your old skin, trained to be okay with the weight of your insecurities, trained to live with your fear like it's a roommate. But if you want success, that version of you can't come along for the ride. You want to become mentally strong, then your weak mind has to die. You have to stop negotiating with it. Stop coddling it. Stop feeding it with excuses. It tells you you're tired. You get up anyway. It tells you you're not good enough. You prove it wrong, not with words, but with action. Every single time you act in opposition to your weakness, you kill it a little more. Look at fighters. They don't win in the ring. They win in training, when no one's watching, when they're running alone in the cold, when their body is screaming for rest, and they push one more rep. What are they doing? They're killing weakness. They're burying the soft version of themselves because they know if he shows up on fight night, they lose. It's not about talent. It's about elimination. Eliminate weakness, and there's nothing left but power. People love talking about glow-ups, about reinvention, but they don't talk about the death that comes first, the death of bad habits, the death of procrastination. The death of your need for validation. That's why success feels like war, because it is a war between who you are and who you're meant to be, a war between your distractions and your destiny. And you have to decide every single day who's going to win. Remember the last time you promised yourself you'd start something, maybe a business, maybe a new routine, maybe reading more, eating clean, getting fit, and then you didn't. That version of you, the one that broke the promise, is your weakness. And unless you confront it, call it out, and destroy it, it will keep running your life. It will keep robbing you of every level you could have reached. It's like dragging a dead body uphill. It's exhausting. Every day you keep your old habits alive, you're carrying dead weight, and then you wonder why you're tired, why you're stuck, why you feel heavy. Because you haven't buried the part of you that should have been left behind a long time ago. Success is violent in that way, not towards others, towards yourself. It demands self-discipline like a blade, sharp, relentless, unapologetic. It means cutting away the comfort, cutting away the complaining, cutting away the small talk, the fake friends, the soft routines that bring no progress. Every slice hurts, but every cut is a release. Every piece you let go of makes room for something stronger. You can't keep choosing weakness and expecting strength to show up. You can't avoid hard things and expect resilience to build. You can't hide from discomfort and still demand growth. It doesn't work like that. Success sees your weakness and says, if you want to stand with me, that thing has to die. You have to burn it down again, until it no longer exists. When people say they want success, but they're not changing anything, what they're really saying is, I want to win, but I want to bring my chains with me. I want freedom, but I'm not letting go of the cage. And that's why they stay stuck. You don't evolve by accident, you evolve by choice. And that choice is brutal. It's not pretty. It's not cute. It's late nights, early mornings, rejection, failure, loneliness, repetition. But that pain, that's what kills the weakness. That's what forges the new version of you. And that version, he's a weapon. He's sharp. He's focused. He's unstoppable. And the world has no defense against someone who's already buried every excuse that once controlled him. Comfort is the enemy of greatness, and most people don't even realize it because comfort is seductive. It whispers to you. It tells you that you're okay where you are. It convinces you that rest is deserved, that you've done enough, that tomorrow is a better time to try harder. But greatness doesn't live in tomorrow. It lives in the moments when you ignore that soft voice and choose to suffer now so you can shine later. Think about it like this. Imagine a man who sets his alarm for 5 a.m. to work on his dream before his day job starts. That alarm goes off and immediately comfort starts speaking, stay in bed, just 5 more minutes. It's dark, you're tired, and he has a decision to make, obey comfort or conquer it. Every single day that choice shows up. And most people, they choose the pillow over the pressure. And that's why most people stay average, because greatness is forged in those uncomfortable decisions, not in the easy yes, but in the painful no. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it steals your future. It makes you soft. It robs your edge. It convinces you that survival is enough when you were born to dominate. People want to win. But they don't want to bleed for it. They want the body, but not the pain. They want the income, but not the grind. They want the respect, but not the sacrifice. And all of that is comfort talking. Comfort wants you to settle. It wants you to avoid the risk. It wants you to sit still, to be safe, to remain who you were, not who you could be. Look at lions. They don't grow strong in cages. They grow strong in the wild, where survival demands strength, focused discipline. You want to be dangerous. Stop living like a pet. Stop eating from the hand of comfort. Start hunting your own. Greatness comes from pressure. It comes from hunger, not from satisfaction, not from softness. You ever wonder why so many people have dreams and so few have results? Because dreams are born in comfort, but results are earned in discomfort. Anyone can dream while sitting on a couch, but waking up early, pushing through setbacks, failing and getting back up, that's the cost most aren't willing to pay. Because the grind is, it's lonely, it's silent. And comfort doesn't like that. Imagine someone wants to become a professional athlete. Everyone claps when they say it. But then comes the diet, the strict schedule, the 2-day workouts, the sacrifices, no parties, no distractions, and slowly comfort creeps in. Just one cheat meal, just one missed session, just one more hour of sleep. And before they know it, greatness has slipped away. Not because they weren't talented, but because they weren't disciplined enough to reject comfort. Even in business, comfort kills. Say you want to build something massive, a brand, a company, a movement. Comfort will tempt you to avoid the hard conversations, to skip the cold calls, to delay the launch. You'll find yourself endlessly tweaking the logo instead of selling the product. Because comfort convinces you that perfection is better than progress. And that mindset, it's a trap. Perfection is just procrastination in a tuxedo. You ever sit on your phone scrolling and suddenly hours are gone? That's comfort. It steals your time in a disguise that looks harmless. But time is your most brutal currency. Once it's spent, you never get it back. And comfort loves wasting it. That's how it wins, slowly, silently. It doesn't have to beat you with force. It just distracts you long enough that you never build the momentum to break free. Look at the people you admire, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the legends. They didn't get there by choosing comfort. They got there because they ran into the fire. They trained when their body said no. They worked when everyone else was chilling. They made sacrifices that the average person thought were crazy, but that's why they're uncommon. Because they did what the common man refuses to do. They embraced pain. They invited pressure. They hunted resistance. Greatness is not for everyone because most are addicted to ease. They think happiness comes from avoiding stress, but real fulfillment comes from doing hard things, from pushing past limits, from looking at the uncomfortable and saying, I'm not afraid of you. It's like the gym. You lift heavy to grow strong. The discomfort is the very thing that builds you. But you skip it, you stay small, you stay weak. Comfort tells you that you're doing fine, but fine is the enemy. Fine is where potential goes to die. Fine is what you settle for when you've forgotten what you're truly capable of. And most of the world is living there in that zone of fine, not failing, but definitely not winning, just existing, just surviving, but not thriving. And that's what makes greatness so rare. Because to rise above the noise, you have to be willing to do what almost nobody else is doing. You have to be willing to suffer now so you can live free later. To sweat now so you can shine later. To sacrifice your comfort so you can earn your crown. And that's not motivational fluff. That's the reality of winners. They don't wait for motivation. They don't beg for inspiration. They wake up and make war with their comfort until the version of them they need to become finally takes the throne. Because she is choosing pain over passivity, action over excuses every single day. And that kind of strength. It doesn't come from luck, it comes from sacrifice. Champions don't look for easy, they look for what builds them, and what builds you is never easy. It's never the decision that feels good. It's the decision that breaks you, humbles you, tests you, and yet you still rise. Sacrifice isn't something you do once. It's a lifestyle. It's getting up when no one claps. It's doing the right thing when no one's watching. It's turning down comfort for progress. Champions are forged in that fire, in that storm, in those repeated moments of discipline where the average would fold. There's a reason why very few people ever become truly elite. It's not about talent. It's not about intelligence. It's about sacrifice. How much are you willing to give up to become the version of you that the world can't ignore? People say they want it. They scream it. They post about it. But when the moment of sacrifice comes, they flinch. They choose comfort over calling, ease over effort. And in that moment, they step away from greatness without even knowing it. Every time you say no to instant gratification, every time you show up when you're tired, every time you pour effort into your vision while everyone else relaxes, you're not just working, you're forging yourself. You're building the kind of resilience that luck can't give you. You're turning yourself into a weapon. Champions don't pray for it to be easier. They train to be stronger. They don't complain about the mountain. They become the storm that climbs it. And that kind of fire, it's not lit by luck. It's lit by sacrifice. Every single time, people waste their lives chasing a feeling. They sit around waiting for motivation to strike like it's some magical lightning bolt that'll suddenly wake them up and make them unstoppable. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. Motivation is a liar. It's unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. You can't build an empire, a legacy, or even a solid morning routine on something that changes based on your mood. Champions aren't made when they feel good. They're made when they feel like giving up and do it anyway. The world worships motivation because it's easy. Discipline, though, that's the killer instinct. That's what separates the average from the elite. You think the guy with the shredded body goes to the gym every day because he's always motivated. No, he wakes up some days exhausted, sort of mentally drained. But he still shows up, not because he wants to, but because it's non-negotiable. He's programmed his mind to obey. And that's the difference. He's not emotional about it. He doesn't need hype music or a motivational reel to lift weights. He moves because it's who he is, because discipline made it part of his identity, and that's what people don't get. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is identity. When you build discipline, you don't ask yourself how you feel. You ask yourself what needs to be done. Think about the student grinding for exams. Everyone else is sleeping, watching Netflix, going out for coffee, but they're locked in, burning the midnight oil. Not because they love the grind, but because they've made a decision. They know success is rented, and rent is due every single day. They don't wait for the right mood to study. They just study. They understand that long-term results demand short-term sacrifices. And here's the twist. Those same people, the disciplined ones, they're the ones who eventually start feeling motivated because action breeds momentum. And momentum creates its own motivation. Motivation is like sugar sweet, addictive, but it doesn't last. Discipline is like protein, solid, essential. It builds you. If you wait until you feel like doing something, you'll never do it. People say, I'll start when I feel ready. Newsflash, you'll never feel ready. Greatness doesn't come to those who feel like it. It comes to those who do it regardless. Discipline means you do the work even when your mind screams no. It means showing up when you're tired, broke, heartbroken, or uninspired, because you've decided your goals are bigger than your feelings. Daily life is the real battlefield. Waking up on time, showing up to that job you hate while building something better on the side, skipping that donut, pushing through one more rep, saying no to that party so you can work on your dream. That's the fight. And it's not glamorous. There's no spotlight, no applause, but every small act of discipline stacks up. And soon it builds a version of you that doesn't flinch when life punches you in the face. Look at the entrepreneur who starts a business with zero capital, just grit and vision. They don't get days off. They don't get weekends. They're up before the world, sending emails, building products, making calls. Do you think they feel like it every day? Of course not. But they move anyway. They act because they understand discipline is the price of freedom. The ones who live life on their terms are the ones who chose discipline when everyone else chose comfort. Discipline is brutal. It's lonely. No one claps for you when you say no to instant gratification. No one throws a party when you choose to stay home and build. But here's the secret. Discipline pays in silence, and then one day it screams so loud the world can't ignore you. The six-pack, the million-dollar business, the calm mind, the respect, they're all rewards discipline hands you in time. Not today, not tomorrow. But eventually, and that's why the weak don't make it, they're addicted to now. The strong, they're in love with later. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a force. Feelings lie. Discipline is truth. You don't brush your teeth because you're motivated. You do it because it's a habit, a rule, a standard. Apply that same logic to every area of your life. Train when you're tired. Write when you're uninspired. Work when it's uncomfortable. Because if you only act when it feels good, you'll be stuck forever. The people at the top, they aren't better. They just kept moving when others stopped. They didn't wait for a sign. They became the signal. Discipline is freedom in disguise. It gives you control over your body, your time, your destiny. You no longer beg for external energy. You become your own generator. And when you live like that, you start to see the world differently. Challenges become tests, not threats. Routines become weapons. Every task becomes a stepping stone. And soon people around you start asking how you do it, how you stay so consistent. And the answer is simple. You stop chasing motivation. You built discipline. And now you don't rise with the sun. You rise with purpose. If you're not willing to give up your distractions, forget success. That's not a threat. That's a fact. People want success. They want wealth. They want to be respected. They want the body, the freedom, the peace, the power. But they're not ready to give up their little addictions. They're glued to their phones, scrolling for hours, watching other people live the life they dream about. And yet they wonder why they're still stuck. You cannot serve two masters. You either chase purpose or pleasure. Pick one, because success doesn't wait for you to finish binge watching your favorite series. It doesn't care about your notifications. It shows up for those who cut through the noise. Think about it. How many hours do people waste every single day just existing? Not building, not grinding, not planning, just existing. Glued to screens, lost in conversations that don't matter, scrolling through drama, following people who wouldn't notice if they disappeared tomorrow. And they call it relaxing. No, that's escape. That's avoidance. That's distraction wrapped in dopamine. They're feeding their brain fast food while their goals starve to death in the background. They say they want success, but their actions scream comfort. And success doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in sacrifice. Look around you. The average person touches their phone over 2,000 times a day. 2,000. Imagine if they touched their goals like that. Imagine if they read, studied, trained, created, or strategized every time they reached for their device. They'd be unrecognizable in 6 months, but they won't, because distractions are seductive. They feel good. They're easy. But easy is the enemy. Every time you give in to distraction, you're voting against your future. Every scroll is a tiny surrender. Every unnecessary conversation is a silent retreat. And your future self is watching, begging you to stop, begging you to focus. You want to be uncommon. Unplug. Delete the apps that are stealing your time. Put your phone down and pick your life up. Most people can't go 10 minutes without checking something. Email, Instagram, TikTok. Messages, they're slaves to their own habits. But the greats, they build empires in silence. They lock in, they cut distractions like cancer because they understand that where your focus goes, your power flows. And every minute you give away to nonsense is a minute your competition uses to outwork you. Remember the student who gets straight A's while holding down a part-time job and still hits the gym every morning. They don't have more time, they have more control. They don't let distraction hijack their day. They set boundaries. They schedule priorities instead of prioritizing distractions. And that's the difference. That's the separation between average and elite. The elite don't need entertainment. They're the entertainment. They're busy creating, building, becoming. While others scroll, they sculpt. While others binge, they build. Success isn't an accident. It's engineered, and distractions are the sabotage. Daily life gives you 100 ways to waste time. Pointless arguments, clickbait, gossip, news cycles that change every 10 minutes but change nothing in your life. You could lose your entire future one distraction at a time. It starts small, a few minutes here, a little detour there. But it adds up. By the end of the week, you've lost hours. By the end of the year, you've lost weeks. And then you look around and wonder why nothing's changed. The truth, you were busy, just not with the right things. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Distractions make you busy. Discipline makes you productive. Think about the man building his body. He's not in the gym watching reels on his phone between sets. He's focused, intentional. Every rep is war. Every set is purpose. Distractions aren't allowed, and that's why his body reflects sacrifice. Same with the entrepreneur. While others are laughing at memes, they're deep in research, learning, testing, refining. They're not playing games. They're playing for legacy. They gave up comfort. They gave up noise, and that's why they win. You have to ask yourself, what's the cost of your distraction? Because you're always paying time, energy, focus. It all goes somewhere. And if it's not going into building your future, it's being stolen. Stolen by likes, retweets, fake news, mindless scrolling. Every second spent watching someone else's highlight reel is a second you could have spent creating your own. But you chose distraction. You chose average. The harsh truth is this: if you can't sacrifice now, don't expect a reward later. Everyone wants to be successful, but not everyone wants to pay the price. And the price is steep. The price is early mornings, late nights, social isolation, brutal honesty, and a complete war against comfort. And yes, it includes giving up your distractions, not because they're evil, but because they're in the way. And if something stands between you and your goals, it's your enemy, no matter how entertaining it is. So ask yourself, do you want it bad enough to unplug? Bad enough to be bored in silence so your mind can finally think? Bad enough to miss out on trends, parties, just to stay locked in? Because success doesn't come to the most talented. It comes to the most focused. And the world is noisy, full of temptations, full of shortcuts. But the truth is, every distraction you give up is a step closer to the life you actually want. Every no you say to comfort is a yes to greatness. Every time you walk away from distraction, you walk toward domination. So now that you've heard the truth, the real question is, what are you going to do about it? Because talk is cheap. Dreams are cheap. You can say you want success all day long, but until your actions scream louder than your words, nothing changes. This world doesn't move for people who are half in. It moves for those who burn with obsession. It moves for those who wake up with fire in their chest and refuse to be average, no matter what it costs. You want to change your life? Stop negotiating with your weaknesses. Stop having conversations with your doubts. Stop apologizing for wanting more. There's nothing wrong with wanting to win. There's nothing wrong with craving greatness. What's wrong is settling for less when you know you were born for more. You've got one life, one shot. And it's slipping through your fingers every time you choose distraction over discipline, every time you scroll instead of build, every time you say tomorrow instead of now. Life is not a game, but it will test you like one. And just like in a game, you don't level up without sacrifice. You don't get stronger by staying comfortable. Pressure makes diamonds. Fire refines gold. And adversity creates champions. Remember this, your comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. So if you're not willing to walk through the pain, the uncertainty, the rejection, and the discipline, then don't expect to stand at the top of the mountain. Some of you are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect motivation, the perfect plan. Let me tell you something. It doesn't exist. Champions don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them. They don't wait for the light. They become it. You don't need more time. You need more focus. You need more hunger. And hunger is built when you decide that failure is no longer an option. When you say, I will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. That's when the world starts moving. The grind is not glamorous. Success is not sexy. It's lonely. It's raw. It's dark nights and early mornings. It's being misunderstood, laughed at, doubted. But that's the price. And the ones who pay it, they earn something money can't buy. Self-respect, freedom, purpose, and peace. Peace not from comfort, but from knowing you didn't fold when it got hard, that you didn't quit when no one was watching, that you kept showing up when everything in you wanted to stop. Remember, the man who says, I'll try, is already halfway defeated. The man who says, I must, is already halfway there. No one remembers the almost. The I was gonna, the I tried. The world remembers the finishers, the ones who showed up broken and bruised and still finished the race. The ones who crawled through pain, through hate, through failure, and made it anyway. And if you ever doubt yourself, remember this, lions: don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. You were not born to blend in. You were born to dominate, to lead, to rise. But only if you're willing to bleed for your dream. Only if you're willing to die to your distractions, because every great life demands a death. Death to laziness, to excuses, to weakness, to comfort. You want success? Then be ready to sacrifice your old self. Because who you are now is not enough to get you where you want to be. Something has to die for something greater to be born. Your comfort must die. Your ego must die. Your distractions must die. That version of you that keeps procrastinating, bury him. That version that keeps scrawling, bury him. The world is waiting for the real you, the focused, unstoppable, relentless you. So light the fire, feed the hunger, silence the noise, and go all in. Because in the end, it's not about who had the talent, it's about who had the courage, who had the grit, who dared to burn everything holding them back and rise from the ashes. You are capable of becoming a legend, but legends aren't made in comfort, they're forged in sacrifice.